योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचा मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि. You see, we have completed 2 chapters and we had touched the 3rd chapter last time, but at this point, I wish a recapitulation in a different way. Having come thus far and including the first 3 sutras of the 3rd chapter which we are going to read, we have now found the inner connections between the different sutras. And so, some people had sent me email and I had sent to them. I want to read out that to all of you. You see, the scheme, Patanjali scheme is something like this. First, he tells us the goal. And the goal is Tada Drashtu Sarupe Avasthanam. Seer staying in his own nature. In the 3rd sutra of the 1st chapter. Through restraining total waves of the mind. That is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha in the 2nd sutra of the 1st chapter. This itself later on he calls as Asampragyata or Nirbija. This is the connection. Now, first he talks of the wrong path taken by people. And the wrong path means if you directly try for restraining all the waves, that will not really lead you to the goal. Though the goal is restraining total waves, you should not directly try for restraining the waves. First, you have to train your mind a lot. So, he has said that direct attempt at restraining the waves, he talks of this in Sutra 118, leads to position of becoming gods or merging in Prakriti. But still transmigration is experienced. So in 118 and 119, he has shown us don't go by that wrong path. Then right path. Right path described in the 1st chapter, first develop self-conscious concentration, Sampragyata Samadhi. That he has told in 117. And gain inner truthful knowledge, Ritambara Pragya. In 120 and 148 he has talked of this. In 120 Pragya, 148 Ritambara Pragya. Same Pragya is explained as Ritambara Pragya, and this comes after our Sampragyata concentration is completed. We have gone through all steps of Sampragyata concentration. And then with that power, mental and knowledge, we have got to know that we are separate from Prakriti. We have known our nature, that we are made of consciousness. All this has come only by the steps of concentration. And then at this point, we should try to restrain all the waves. So, 120 he talks of this. The sanskaras of that full concentration and knowledge will restrain all other sanskaras. This he has talked in 150. And then restraining them will restrain total sanskaras, which will give the seedless concentration in 151. So, he has given names Asampragyata, another name he has given is Nirbija, for the same thing. He has changed names and that has sometimes created a confusion, unless we be very clear of what is what. Now, this Sampragyata concentration happens in some grades. He has indicated the grades in 117 as vitarka, that means concentration on gross objects. This he has subdivided into savitarka and nirvitarka, 142, 143. Together they are called vitarka. Then vichara. Vichara is subdivided. Vichara is the concentration on subtle objects. And that is subdivided into savichara and nirvichara in 144. Then in 117 itself, ananda, that is concentration on one's own mind and buddhi. And asmita, concentration on I consciousness. This is the 4 steps given in the 117 of the sampragyata concentration. Now, this ananda and asmita become included in the extended definition of savichara and nirvichara that he has shown in 145. That savichara and nirvichara are on subtle objects, but the subtle objects will proceed and mind and buddhi will also be included. And up to prakriti they will go, alinga parivasanam. So, this ananda samadhi and asmita samadhi becomes included in the extended definition of sampragyata samadhi. All these he calls as sabija. That is with the seeds of transmigration. In 146 he calls this. But they will restrain all other sanskaras and also bring inner knowledge filled with truth. Then we should try for asampragyata. Now, this is what the first chapter has given us. But if it is not possible to concentrate due to vagaries of mind, then various alternatives and supplementary practices are prescribed in chapters 1, sutras 21 to 39. Various alternatives, various supplementary practices. This is the up to sutra 39. Otherwise, preliminary steps are given in second chapter. So equivalence you see. Either you go through the supplementary practices to gain concentration or start at a lower level in the second chapter, Tapas Swadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhanani Kriya Yoga. And the second chapter is called Sadhana Path. The chapter on means practice tapa, austerities, Swadhyaya, repetition of mantra, and Ishvara Pranidhan, dedication of fruits of work to God. That he talks in chapter 2, Sutra 1. And then try to practice concentration. But later on, he tells us rather practice 8 steps for achieving full concentration. Now here a lot of overlap comes. In the 8 steps, those 3 things become included at a point, and the 8 steps are not all preliminary. The 5 are preliminary, 6, 7, 8, again we are going back to that sampragyata samadhi. So, he says rather, so the final conclusion which all of us agreed is that we should start with practicing 8 steps, then we will achieve full concentration and inner knowledge by removing impurities which are obstructing concentration. Impurities are obstructing concentration. If you go through 8 steps, then impurities will be removed and we will proceed rightly. So this he talks in 2:28, 29. Now what are the 8 steps? Yama, general rules in 2:30. Niyama, special rules including those given in 2:1. Tapaswadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhan included in niyamas. Other niyamas given in 2:32. Asana, posture, given in 2:46. Pranayama, regulation of breathing in 2:49. Pratyahara, organs instead of going to objects remain with the mind. This is the definition of pratyahara. 254. And then we come to the third chapter for the 3 steps which are parts of the process of concentration. So, dharana, holding the mind to a particular point. Chapter 3, Sutra 1. Now, this is the equivalent of Vitarka Samadhi, which was told in chapter 1, 42-43. Same thing comes to us now with another name called dharana. You will find the definition same. Name there was Vitarka Samadhi, Savitarka and Nirvitarka. Here it is called dharana. What is dharana? Holding the mind to a particular point, to the exclusion of other points. Then dhyana. Now dhyana is the process. Starting from this, we are going to savichara, nirvichara, and then ananda, asmita also included. All this process is dhyana. Dhyana is the process by which, starting from dharana, we are reaching samadhi. Samadhi is the last, sampragyata samadhi, and dharana is the first sampragyata samadhi, and the middle whole course is included in dhyana. That is the system. So dhyana is defined as an unbroken flow of knowledge through that point where we are concentrating. 3-2 is the process from vitarka up to asmita. 117, 144, 45, all this becomes included. Then samadhi. Samadhi is full concentration, revealing the innermost meaning of the point. Revealing the innermost meaning of that point. 3-3. This is the equivalent to the ultimate sampragyata. 117 and 147. From there to the final goal, asampragyata, by restraining all will. This is Patanjali's scheme. If we follow the 8 steps, we will reach the ultimate sampragyata samadhi and then restrain all the will. That is the method given by Patanjali. Here in a note, I have added observation from Vedanta. Come back to the first chapter. Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. Tada means then. So when all the waves are restrained, then he says drashta is in his swarupa. And vritti sarupya mitratra in the next sutra. Otherwise, some form as per wave. So this cannot be permanent. When the waves are restrained, you are in Swarupa. When the waves are not restrained, you are taking the form of a wave. So this is not permanency. Patanjali hopes to make it permanent. In 114, by Dirgha Kala, Nairantarya and Satkara Sevito. But something which is temporary by its very nature can never be made permanent by practice. That is why in the Vedanta, Acharya Gaudapad says, if slightest difference is admitted between things, Patanjali has admitted differences between the different Purushas and difference between Purusha and Prakriti. Vedanta does not accept it. Purusha, Prakriti is separated, but later on it is told that there is a Supreme Purusha who is one without a second. Nothing is separate from anything in this world. Vedanta talks of unity of the entire universe. So, he says slight difference is accepted, then permanent unattachment itself is not there. Unattachment will be there, but not permanent. Asangata sada nasti. Kimuta varnachyati. The final knowledge is by removal of the veil which is covering our knowledge. So that can't come unless you have a permanent anasakti. Anyway, this is a small observation made not to dissuade us from going through Patanjali, because if we reach that state told by Patanjali, what we are getting? We are getting a clear reflection of what we are. In a waveless lake, like the mirror, we are seeing our own reflection. This is the mistake, I should say, limits of both Patanjali, because he has based it upon Sankhya. So Sankhya's say it is Purusha, but it is not Purusha at all. It is they say Purusha we are separated from Buddhi, but this is Purusha, Supreme Purusha's reflection in individual Buddhi. Is this what the yogis and Sankhyas are thinking as their Atman or Purusha? Anyway, so now we come back to our third chapter and see where we are leading to. I hope I made all the connections clear. Now we are going to chapter 3 and Dharana. The name of the chapter 3 is Vibhuti Pada. Vibhuti. That means we hear yogis having supernatural powers. So all these powers come if we have proceeded in this particular way and we are successful in Dharana Dhyan Samadhi, then these powers come. And Patanjali has described these powers, not that he wants us to attain them. He will then say they are powers in the outside world, but obstructions in Samadhi. So, because they come, whether we seek them or not, they come. You see, we have opened a factory. We want hydrogen gas. And we are using hydrochloric acid and zinc and some other things. Now, hydrogen will be produced, but there will be many byproducts. And then the government of the country or people will shout, how much pollution you are making. Now, if we are afraid of pollution, we'll never run a factory. If we run a factory, pollution will come. So, we must know how to deal with this pollution, how this byproduct should be utilized, nullified, and then only we get the desired result. This is why Patanjali has described Vibhuti. The purpose of describing Vibhutis is that you mind, when you are going towards realization of your nature, this is what will happen. And if you are not aware, if you are caught unawares, you will be led astray. We see most of the so-called yogis, I will add the word so-called, are busy showing their special powers to people, gaining money thereby, gaining recognition thereby, missing their goal totally. So, Patanjali says these are the byproducts. We are going to use the Sanyama on ourselves, and then only that final knowledge is coming. And remember, concentration is not the goal in Patanjali. When we have gained mental power through concentration, when we have gained knowledge through that concentration, all knowledge in the world is within us and all knowledge comes by concentration. To the extent that Swami Vivekananda says, if I get another chance, I will not learn subjects first. I will learn concentration. Then I can apply anywhere and get any subjects. So, when we gain mental power through concentration and knowledge of our real nature, then we restrain the waves and get final release. That is Patanjali's idea. Now, when we are gaining concentration more and more, so many powers are coming. And then we are losing our track. 99% yogis we find have lost their track. Instead of reaching the goal, they have become big Mahatmas, earning money, duping people. So it should not happen with us, real sadhakas. And that is why the third chapter, Patanjali calls as Vibhuti-pada, describes all the byproducts. So these powers, I explained to you, when you open any factory, you get the desired product, but you get so many byproducts. And unless you know that these are byproducts, not your goal, and unless you know how to nullify those byproducts, you will not proceed further. That is the system of Patanjali. So today I have told from Sutra 1 up to end of third chapter, this is what Patanjali is telling. So many powers will come, you have to deal with them, you have to reject them, you have to go beyond them, and then you reach your real nature. So, Deshabandhas Chittasya Dharana. Desha is not any object. Desha is a spot. Remember, I have given that Arjuna's example of seeing only the eye of the bird. So, a spot, either external or internal. Patanjali's scheme does not matter. Whether you concentrate on your heart or head or leg or hand or a point on the wall or table does not matter. But a spot to the exclusion of the entire world, that is dharana. Then tata, what it gives us? Tata pratyaya, no. Tata pratyaya ekatanata dhyanam. Tata means after that. When you have been able to, a lot of questions were asked and I have replied to them in the chat. When you fail, not a question of time, how many times, how many days we have to practice. I will give you a beautiful example before I proceed. In the Viveka Chudamani, a question is asked. How many times we have to apply our Viveka? Shankaracharya says, if there is paddy and you want to get rice, you ask me how many times we should heat it to husk it. What is the reply? Till you get the rice. If you go on heating, even after getting the rice will become powder. And if you stop before the rice comes out, rice will not come out. So it is not a question of how many days or how many times. When you feel you are succeeded in this step, you go to the next step. So, when dharana is successfully done, when you feel you are able to concentrate on a point to the exclusion of the world, then tata, then you are getting some experience through that point. When you are concentrated, you are seeing the inner things behind that point. You are seeing the subtler phenomena behind that point. And when it becomes continuous, ekatanata, that means the waves will come and go, but all waves pointing the same, that is ekatanata. I am seeing you, then I am seeing you, then I am seeing you, then I am seeing you. This is called ekatanata. Pratyaya means experience. Through that concentration on the point, we have got the knowledge of what is inside the point. And when this knowledge remains constant or continuous, that is dhyan. Now, we go inside and inside. We see still what is inside. We see the very mind with which you have proceeded. We see our own buddhi. We see our own eye consciousness. Let it proceed. This is all dhyanam. So, then tadeva arthamatra nirbhasam swarupa shunyam iva samadhi. Tadeva, that very dhyan is called samadhi. Tadeva, that means that very dhyan is called samadhi. When artha matra nirbhasam. You remember, Shabda, Artha and Jnana, Patanjali had told us. Outside impressions are Shabda, inside what is happening is Artha, and our reaction is Jnana. So when the inner things are seen, outer form is lost. Swarupa Shunyam Iva. Swarupa is not the real nature in Patanjali. Swarupa means one's form. Swarupa. Shunyam Iva. Iva. That form is there, but we are not seeing it. That form is there, but our vision has gone inside. If what happens with some doctors, there is a problem. They have been dealing with the gross body so much that they are not ready to believe the subtler perceptions. So to those doctors, I will give one example, especially the radiologist. You see, there is X-ray machine, and these days, supersonic, ultrasonic, so many things are there. They are seeing the physical things, but inside, is it not? Instead of seeing the skin and flesh, they are seeing the bones. And they are seeing what is happening in the brain. They are seeing what is happening in our nerves. But all this is gross. But I am giving an example. Like that, man's vision becomes penetrative. All the gross things, now we'll take another simile from physics, nuclear physics. We used to call them elements of 195 elements, 92 or 100, and now the Sankhya goes on increasing. But we have found that inside there are protons and electrons. And these particles also are now increasing, photon. And some particle they got God particle meaninglessly. So, nobody can see, according to physical sciences, we cannot see the electrons or photons. We can see only their effect in a test tube. Yoga, Patanjali Yoga, prescribes this method of concentration by which we perceive the inner things. That is the difference. And when we are perceiving the inner things, don't bring in your outside thing and suppress them. Great danger. Don't bring your outside perception and say they are hallucinations. They are much more real than what we are seeing physically. They are inside things. So, same dhyana, when we lose the sight of the external rupa of that spot, and the inner meaning only is revealed, then that dhyana becomes samadhi. So you see, dharana continuous becomes dhyana. Dhyana, when it becomes sufficiently penetrative, it becomes samadhi. Now things are overlapping, as I said, which up to what point dhyana, up to what point samadhi, don't discuss. Savichara, nirvichara, that is description in a particular way. We ask questions. Savitarka means we ask questions of the gross object. Nirvitarka means we have got the answers. Then we ask questions, we have subtle perception. So we ask questions of the subtle things. That is called savichara. When we get their answers, we call nirvichara. Then we are able to perceive our own mind and buddhi. Then that becomes ananda samadhi. And then we penetrate further and we perceive our I consciousness. So, up to what point you call dhyana, up to what you call samadhi? Because the form is lost every time. The gross form is lost, we reveal the subtle form. The subtle form is lost, we see the mind. Then that form is lost, we see I consciousness. So, definition of samadhi. What is the dictionary meaning of samadhi in this case? Or in Patanjali, full concentration. That is the meaning. In Vedanta, meaning of samadhi is very different, very, very different, I will tell you. When the time comes, I will explain that to you. But it is very different. Oh, I am halfway through. Suddenly I was losing my moorings. Okay. So, now let me explain what is samadhi in Vedanta. In Vedanta or in Bhakti Shastras, samadhi has two forms. Samadhi is total absorption, not concentration only. Not only concentration, but absorption. And now these are beyond Patanjali. Suppose I see my real nature. In Vedanta it is called Brahman, not different Purushas. I feel identified with that Brahman. But there is an I which is experiencing this identity. This is called Savikalpa Samadhi. Vikalpa don't confuse with the Sankalpa Vikalpa of the mind. No. Meaning of Vikalpa is alternate. Brahman is the reality, but there is I also is experiencing Brahman. That is Vikalpa. Now in Bhakti Shastra there is a Bhava Samadhi. I am the son of God, I am the child of God, I am so and so related to God. The sight of the world vanishes totally. So it is Samadhi. Two poles remain, God and myself. And they also are felt as united. I am experiencing my union with God. All the experiences of this type, whether I am a part of God, whether I am the child of God, whether I am the father of God, whether God is my being, but I am there to perceive all this. That is called Savikalpa Samadhi. People confuse whether you call it Sampragyata or Asampragyata, whether you call it Sabija or Nirbija, they do not go near these at all. Absolutely not. They are temporary. I feel a permanent relation with God. That becomes my steady nature. That is called Savikalpa Samadhi. Now, there is an experience. Experiencer, the object experienced, and the experience. These three have not remained separate. This is far beyond Patanjali's imagination. And that is called Nirvikalpa. That means no alternate of one. Now in Patanjali there are innumerable Purushas, so alternates. Purusha is different from Prakriti, so alternate. Vedantic terminology, Samadhi is totally different. It is not concentration, it is not penetrative concentration, it is feeling the identity. Feeling the identity, I am not an individual, I am eternally connected with God. That is Savikalpa Samadhi. Even the Jnanis, when they say Aham Brahmasmi, it is Savikalpa Samadhi. Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you cannot have Aham to say Aham Brahmasmi. It is beyond this nomenclature. When the experience, the experiencer, and the thing experienced all have become one. One is difficult to say, all have become non-different from each other. That is the supreme experience, and that releases man forever. Now this Asampragyata, Patanjali has told us, practice, practice, practice. Tatra sthito yatno abhyasa. And he hopes that if you practice, you will become constant there. If you can follow me, those who know a little of Mimamsa philosophy says, by doing good karma, we go to heaven. We go on doing good karma, we will always remain in heaven. That is moksha for them. We go on doing good karma, we will always remain in heaven. Swami Vivekananda said it is impossible. Similarly, we go on removing the waves. Gaudapada has equated this. You are sitting near a sea and you take one straw in hand and drop by drop you are clearing the sea. Again water will come. So, this is the difference in the very wording. Many times what happens, the words delude us. Actually, Vedanta rarely uses the word dhyana. Vedantic word is nididhyasan, is different. So, I am not describing the whole Vedantic thought here. But let me point out one thing to you now. Because we have heard of the 8 angas. There is a book by Shankaracharya. The name of that book is Aparoksha Anubhuti. I will not explain the Aparoksha what it is, but Aparoksha means, anyway, I will not. There he says, yoga has 15 parts, 15 steps. And Patanjali's 8 are included. So it is going more analytical than Patanjali. Just a minute, half a minute give me. I will fetch that book from my shelf. Yes. Now you see. Uh, 102 shloka from, in shloka 100 of Aparokshanubhuti, he says, Tri Panchangani Atho Vakshe Purvoktasya Labdaye Taisya Sarvai Sada Karyam Nididhyasanam Evatu. Nididhyasan has to be done along with 15 3 pancha, 3 times 5 anga steps that I am going to tell you. To realize your real nature, along with Nididhyasan, you have to practice 15 steps. And you have to always practice them. Then, Yama, Niyama, then he has added Tyaga, Mauna, Desha, Kala. 4 have been added after Yama and Niyama. Tyaga, Mauna, Desha, Kala. Then Asan. Patanjali's Asan. One more is added after Asan. Three are added after Asan. Mula Bandha. It is one of the yogic kriyas, if you like. Deha Samyam. Drik Sthiti. Position of the eyes, the straightness of the body, Mula Bandha. So, 4 are added there, 3 here. 7 are added, 8 plus 7 will become 15. Then Prana Sanyamanam, Chaiva, Pratyaharascha Dharana, Atmadhyanam. Dhyana is replaced by Atmadhyanam, Samadhischa, Proktani Angani Vai Kramat. Then, he has said, if everything is Brahman, where should my organs go? Why should I go to any object which is nothing but reflection of Brahman? My joy is inside. My joy is in Brahman. Why should I go to any object? This is Yama. So, all the 15 steps he explains through his Advaitic view. And very natural it becomes. If one can practice this by buddhi, by viveka, not by willpower only. You tell your mind, why you are going there? To get joy. Joy is your real nature. Come in, you will get more joy there. And so, instead of telling the 5 yamas, he says this is yama. The general rule is that Indriyas controlled by everything is Brahman. In this method, Indriyas become controlled. Then mind goes to Brahman. Mind should not go to other places. Mind should continue to go to Brahman. This is a niyama, special rule. Mind should continue going towards Brahman instead of going some other places. This is niyama. Then tyaga. This manifold has to be given up by always thinking of consciousness. Now, Vani does not reach Brahman, mind does not reach Brahman. So, this becomes Maunam. Maunam is not only taking a vow, I will not speak, and then write on the slate and do this and that. Vani does not reach Brahman, mind does not reach Brahman, so the man becomes meditative. This is Mauna. Then Desha. Desha means you have to select a good place to sit. Not Deshabandha Desha. Huh? Desha, there is a point. Here, Desha is the place where you select to sit for meditation. That is the important point of meditation. Yama, Niyama are orientation of life. And then Tyaga, this has come, Mauna. When you are feeling meditative, you require a nice place to sit. That is called Desha. And generally we go to secluded places. He says, if you can think of Brahman, is it not the most secluded place? Because other than Brahman, no person exists. So to seek a secluded place, you better go to Brahman. That itself is the secluded place. Now Kala, proper time. He says, all Kala is finite. Brahman is infinite. In this way, that becomes every time becomes the proper time. About asana, he has literally given a taunt to the Hatha Yogis here. Sukhe neva bhaved yasmin ajasram brahmachintanam. Continuous brahmachintan where it can be done pleasantly or easily, that is asana, not that which gives you pain for performing different asanas. That is not asana, he says. And he has described here Siddhasana, by which we become perfect. That is called Siddhasana according to him. Mula Bandha, the mool where we are bound, that is a particular yogic kriya. But Shankaracharya says, what is the mool of all beings? Brahman. If we are concentrating on Brahman, that is Mula Bandha. So definition of all the 15 parts will be thinking of Brahman only. Anga should be Sama. He says Sama does not mean like a log of wood you become straight. Brahman is Sama. Brahman is same everywhere. Thinking of Brahman you become Sama. Drishti, he says not pointing to the nose tip. No. That drishti by which you see Brahman everywhere, that is the real drishti. Pranayam, He says we have indriyas, mind, everything. But they are all only forms of Brahman. So they lose their separate existence or restlessness because of thought of Brahman. That is pranayam. Control of prana means if we can meditate upon Brahman, everything else loses its restlessness. That is the control of prana. There itself he has explained Rechak, Purak and Kambar. Pratyahar. Visheshu Atmatam Drishtva. There are some students of Vedanta here. Let them mark Shankaracharya's words. Don't imagine Vedanta according to you. He says, in all the objects, see yourself. In all the objects, see Brahman. Then where the mind will go? Mind will go in Brahman. That is Pratyahara. Withdrawal of the mind from objects, because all objects are nothing but reflection of Brahman. All objects are nothing but your own self. Dharana. Wherever the mind goes, there is Brahman. So, dharana, as I said, is a concept. Instead of fixing to a spot, to the exclusion of all other spots, he says, wherever mind goes, it is Brahman only. That is dharana. You have conceived the sarva vyapitva of Brahman. And then, without any other support, you are thinking of Brahman. That is dhyana. Dhyana is without taking any other support. We are able to meditate on Brahman. That is called dhyana. And then, that is a vritti, final vritti. And when that vritti merges in Brahman, you do not remain separate. That is samadhi. So, now another funny point. He calls this as Rajoga. We know the difference outside between Raja Yoga and Hatha Yoga. What is the name Hatha Yoga? Have you understood? Hatha means by firm resolve. Hatha means my firm resolve. I want this. So by enforcing by will, that is called Hatha Yoga. And Patanjali Yoga, because lot of knowledge, viveka is coming, it is called Raja Yoga, because it is going in a system. Shankaracharya says, what I have told you is Raja Yoga. And he has nicely told, those whose mind is pure, they follow this Raja Yoga. If your mind is not fully pure, you follow Patanjali. He calls Patanjali as Hatha Yoga. You follow, Hatha Yoga is not Shadanga Yoga in Shankaracharya. Hatha Yoga means Patanjali, mostly depending upon will everywhere. So he says, if your mind is not so pure, it is pure, but not so pure, you follow Patanjali's Hatha Yoga. If your mind is fully pure, you can feel what I have been telling you. This becomes Raja Yoga. So today, those who are interested should read this book, Aparoksha Anubhuti. I am telling specially. Rajesh Kumar, the Vedantist, he should read Aparoksha Anubhuti, then he will know what is Shankara's philosophy. Anyway, so anyone interested, it is a very beautiful book. Now, let us proceed according to our textbook. Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi we understood according to Patanjali. Now, three are one. That means we cannot independently practice Samadhi. Samadhi is a sequel to Dhyan. Dhyan is a sequel to Dharana. So, whenever we want to practice Samadhi, we have to practice Dharana, then Dhyan, then Samadhi. So, these three practice together. He has given another name, is called Sanyama. Sanyama means total control, but he has used this as a name where all the three are practiced one after the other. Starting from dharana, we practice samadhi. Now remember, his dharana is on any object anywhere, any spot anywhere. And so, these three also will become any point anywhere, which is not there at all in Vedanta or in Bhakti. We have to concentrate on our real nature. We have to concentrate on God. We have to concentrate on Brahman. But Patanjali allows us to concentrate on any point. And they give all these byproducts. So, Trayam Ekatra Sanyama. Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi, three, Ekatra, together, is called Sanyama. What happens by your Sanyama proper? Tajjayat Prajna Lokaha. So this is the constant theme of Patanjali. Penetrative concentration releases the inner knowledge. The light of knowledge comes by penetrative concentration. So when all these three together, they gives you the light. Prajna Aloka. Aloka means light. Prajna is inner knowledge. Tajjayat. Tajjayat, when you master the practice of three together, the inner knowledge shines. You get the light of inner knowledge. Yes, that is what we had seen in Sampragyata Samadhi. So the same thing is coming to us now in different words. Then, Tasya Bhumishu Vinyoga. We are following now, forget the previous Samprajnata, we are following now 8 steps. 5 steps we have made ourselves ready. Then Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi together. That gives us the light of inner knowledge. But Bhumishu Vinyoga. That means all those things will come. Savitarka, first practice on some gross objects, then practice on some subtle objects, then practice on the inner mind. Then, so Bhumi means levels. Bhumisho means according to levels. Vinyoga means use. Tasya means these three together. These three together have to be applied at different levels. Tasya Bhumishu Vinyoga. Then he says, Trayam Antarangam Purvebhya. I had given you 5 steps. They are as if outside, preparing our mind for the final onslaught. Compared to them, these three are inside. We are going inside and inside. We are not following outside practice of yama, niyama. Even pratyahara is inside. Somebody has rightly remarked amongst you, dharana is the central point in Patanjali. Up to pratyahara, readiness for dharana. Dhyana and samadhi, sequel of dharana. So dharana is the central point. These three are inner, antarangam, inner sadhana compared to purvebhya. Compared to the previous 5, these three are inside. Even then, they end only in Sampragyata Samadhi. And we have to achieve the Asampragyata. Asampragyata should not be called a Samadhi or concentration. It is a state where all the waves have been restrained. So, Tadapi Bahirangam Nirbijasya. He has given another name, Nirbija. He thinks that the seed of transmigration is stopped when we reach Asamprajnata. Compared to that, these are also outside. These three are inside compared to the 5, but they are also outside compared to Nirbija. And we are achieving that. We have been told, don't directly jump into Nirbija. You will be led astray. Practice all this first. Your power of the mind has grown. Your knowledge has grown. and then try for asampragyat. She is reminding us here, don't go after powers, but they are also outside. That means when you have gained them, when you have mastered them, then try for the innermost. What is the innermost? Restraining all waves from the mind. No wave should rise in the mind. So that, compared to that, that is the innermost sadhana. So compared to that, these three are outside. Then he describes the state of Nirodha, what happens when everything is restrained, how it is obtained. So that will be our topic for the next class. So we have today revised our thinking. We have seen all the connections. We have compared with Vedanta to the conclusion to the steps, and we have read 8 sutras from the 3rd chapter. And in a way, we have summarized the 8th chapter. We shall read all the 8 chapters slowly. So, this is how we have get. Om yogena chittasya padena vacha malam sharirasya cha vaidyakena yopakarottam pravaram muninam patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanam.